evening, everyone. Good evening, Steven. What an honor. I met Steven, it's less than a year ago. We met in November of last year in one of the most dynamic cities in the United States. We were in Dallas, Texas, at Liberty International World Conference. And we sat together at one dinner, and this conversation was really, really deep and made a big impact on me. And you had many conversations at this conference, right?
Yes.
And that's where the idea was born. Let's show Steven to the larger audience, his beautiful mind, his passion to liberty. That's why we are here in Buenos Aires, Argentina, in August of 2025. And we have an interview now, Steven. Mm-hmm. So I'll start with this question. What sparked your interest in ideas of liberty? How it started?
That's a great question. So I usually hadn't been very political, but I think my mom really taught me about it. Some works of earlier libertarian authors like Thomas Sowell, and I thought it was a pretty kind of wild card ideology, but it made more sense the more I continued to read about it. And the older I became, the more I became more passionate about it, I would say.
Wonderful. So you mentioned Thomas Sowell. Is there a particular book or article, maybe an interview that you remember that was the moment that you thought, I want to learn more about libertarianism and free markets?
He had this. He wrote a piece on why charter schools were actually more effective at teaching students than public schooling was. That really interested me because it showed me the average grade score from a charter school to that of a public school, and the charter school performed better. And I thought that was pretty interesting, so I continued to read on it.
Right. You live in Chicago, right? In Illinois.
Correct.
And you're a sophomore, which means second grade of high school. Mm. Your colleagues, both girls and boys, do they share similar passion to philosophy, to economics, or you're a little bit different than them? How do you look at this?
My friends who are political are typically social democrats.
What's wrong about being social democrat?
Statist, pro-taxation, the whole 9 yards, really.
So you think social justice is not just?
No, it's not remotely just.
Why is that?
Because, it's really, it loops back around because for a so-called just ideology, it demands sorts of taxation to fund programs that don't even serve any justice. They support things like affirmative action, which aren't just in the slightest.
What's debunkers? I heard that that's something you like to follow.
That kind of earlier on when I considered myself more of a conservatarian. It's like an animated thing. It's like an animated YouTube thing about debunk statist videos and such. It's pretty funny.
We should check it out.
Oh yeah.
Perhaps.
I'm not endorsing.
Yeah.
But the animator there, he also did this show called the Common Sense Soapbox, which is a YouTube mini-series. It was for the Foundation of Economic Education, if you guys are familiar with them.
Very cool. So, ideas of liberty, we can maybe not divide, but there are different spheres where some of us are more specialized. For example, could be economics, in particular Austrian economics, or political philosophy, or ethics. Do you have any of these particular fields interest you more, and why?
I'd say like the social aspect of libertarianism is pretty interesting. I feel like it's a lot more easy to debate over rather than the economic standpoints of it, because you're able to like, because it's really not like, it's not an opposable thing to say like, I think that maybe the government shouldn't interfere with every aspect of my life. Like that's like,
It's like common sense.
yeah, it's very common
Live
sense.
and let live.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I also think so. That this is that part of our ideas that we can win hearts and minds of the people probably easier than on others. But when it comes to free markets, do you, when you talk to your colleagues or maybe even older people, do they sometimes say that, hey, capitalism is unjust? I mean, capitalism is for greedy people, stuff like that. Do you hear those kind of arguments? How do you debunk them?
They okay. So they have two main conflicts with the laissez-faire economy, and those things are, one would be the environmental aspect of it, how our company is going to take after the planet, and two, what they call like wealth injustice, like pay gaps and things of the sort, and like. They really like bash like trickle down economics, and I mean I would too in a system like the U.S. where trickle down economics can't work because they're being taxed everywhere it gets supposed to be trickled down. They don't point out that in the U.S. The wealthy pay actually 90% of the income tax there, and so for that reason, like that's when you tax wealth, you don't expect more wealth to go to the government, because we have such a bloated spending right there, right in our government right now. Just imagine what they could do with more trillions of dollars.
Steven, we are now in Argentina, first country in the world to have a libertarian president. How do you feel about it?
It's great. Viva Libertad.
But in most, yes.
I'm really excited to see how Milei's reforms are going to really impact Argentina and kind of lift it out of the poverty it's been experiencing under prior social democratic presidents.
But in most countries in the world, including the United States, our libertarian politicians don't do so well, right?
Yeah.
Usually the results are not very good, especially for parties that have libertarian in the name.
Oh, yeah.
What do you think? What can we change? Is there anything we can learn maybe from Milei, or maybe each country is different? Do you have any thoughts about this?
We can watch the other guys tear each other to shreds. I mean, we have a couple of like freedom-valuing politicians in the U.S., but they're few and far between. I think if we do see Milei's system work here, which it probably will, but let's not jump to conclusions, we'll be able to debunk pretty much like the other ideologies in the U.S. and use Argentina as an example, because libertarians haven't had the chance to do that yet, and that'll really give us some like credit. Because in the U.S., Democrats are always like comparing us to like Europe. Like, why can't we be like them?
So in other words, the whole world is watching Argentina right now.
Yeah.
And if this will go well, our chances are higher.
Yeah,
that
for sure.
Other countries will go next, right? Yeah, I'm also very, very excited about it. And this is your first trip outside of the United States, right?
Yeah, that's true. And I have been looking forward to going outside the U.S. and traveling abroad. Thanks to Liberty International, I've had the chance to do that.
That's awesome. Talking about the young generation, you know, for older people like me and others, we sometimes don't understand what is the content that the young people would like to consume to spread these ideas of freedom. Do you have any ideas what we can do better, and especially among young people? what do you think? What's the future, actually, of libertarian message in the young generation, among young people?
So my generation really enjoys consuming content that has a more humorous twist to it, and I do too, and most people do value that, but there's a big gap in what each generation will consider humorous, and there isn't quite as much of that humor in like Gen Z or starting to be Gen Alpha. So, but people are doing it. I mean, I'm seeing like libertarian videos on Instagram. They give me a good laugh. But I'm not sure how many of the older people would understand them.
You're right. Enough of my questions, I think. There are people who might have better questions than me, I'm sure. So why don't we open it to the floor? Chica?
This guy was pretty. Yep.
Mics are getting ready. Okay, it's coming.
First of all, Mr. Tamm, congratulations. It's delightful to hear you. When I was your age, they were still wiping the drool off my chin. And at the rate I'm aging, they'll be doing that soon again. Let me inquire, what is the attitude of your teachers? Because were you one of my students, I would take great delight in the fact of finding a young man who is so intellectually curious. What is the response of your teachers to your precocious nature?
I avoid discussing the matter with my teachers. Some of them, most of them, I would say, don't share my politics, and some I would go so far as to say are kind of espouse historical revisionism. But for the most part, they disagree. And they're, not every subject this is applicable, as I'm sure you know. So, yeah, I really don't discuss the matter with my teachers.
You look like you're about the same age as Greta Thunberg. Do you worry about Greta Thunberg telling us about climate change?
She's gonna ruin everything. Thunberg's crusade against the free market has had a really large impact on the opinions of younger people, especially in the West. And it has led to more criticisms of market economies that have done more for the environment than any government ever has.
I've got a son just 3 years younger than you, and I feed him a lot of content. And I try to get him on Sowell because Sowell's my hero. I'm curious, who passed you that first article? Do you have a really good educational system or a good teacher at a school that or was that through a parent?
It was probably through my mom. She kind of introduced me to that. And
Let's recognize Mom. Tia. Tia, stand up. Bravo.
But yeah, I really love humor, and I really do enjoy that. And I think even a little before I was into libertarianism, like earlier in middle school, I still like to watch comedians. So that kind of like blended, and that was kind of like, I don't know, I kind of like that.
Steven, what was your reaction as a 10-year-old to the panic-demic, plan-demic, or scam-demic, or whatever you want to call it 5 years ago? I'd really like to know how 10-year-olds handled this.
It was awful.
Because I heard about kids committing suicide.
I can't really speak to that part, but I will say the lockdown really like sucks. My school had this just awful system where we'd like come in the school for like 2 days, but this was like later in the year, and we really didn't get a chance to see our teachers like all that often. But like only half the school would come in on like 2 days a week, and then half the school would come in on the first 2 days of the week, some other week. And then they would alternate between who got to come into school on Wednesdays. I don't know who came up with that or why, but all around, the pandemic just made everything just awful. I couldn't really like see my friends because like their parents often had like a lot of hysteria around the pandemic. But yeah.
Steven, you talked about the importance of humor and storytelling, and I think you know I run the Anthem Film Festival, which is a libertarian film festival, and so I completely agree with you. Storytelling, humor, emotion is such an important way to reach other people. Have you watched the Tuttle Twins, and are you aware of that? And if you are, do you think it's age appropriate for your friends now that you're in high school, or do we need to come up with something, the Tuttle Twins as they grow up, or some other group or something that could help reach kids your age?
Okay, so I will say the Tuttle Twins is definitely something I'm familiar with, but I read them mostly more in middle school, and I think they were like somewhat crucial into me getting into libertarianism. And I am very familiar with their works, so that was, so I would say yes, but as to whether or not they appeal to high schoolers, I'm not so sure. Right now, we've been in school, like we're being given like works from like accredited historians, whether factual or not. But it still shows that kids are in high school or my age are able to like ingest a bit more like mature content.
Good night, Steven. My name is Marco. I have a question. So, first, if you suffer or there is kind of brainwashing on American school or in your school, and the other thing is, if you debate wokeism, you know, the woke culture, you know, if you have like friends that defend the radical feminism, the, you know, LGBT, those things, just that. Thank you.
Yeah, we can like debate a lot of that here, but I mean that's not to say you won't be called like a bigot and such. The attitudes vary. I will say the attitudes on these sort of topics really vary from state to state. I know there's like incorporating the more pop culture aspect of the political libertarianism. Like there are like people from like organizations like Daily Wire and stuff that do a lot of those like debates. But yeah, I mean, debating in like schools, I wouldn't say that my school specifically is really a place for politics.
No. You speak very well, so I like that. My question is, what are you going to do when you finish high school? What are your plans after that?
That's a great question.
That was my question too. Thank you.
I'm really unsure about it because I could do. I've really been bouncing between law or like investment banking. I know some people want to go into both. I kind of like law sounds really fun. I've been watching some Better Call Saul, if you're familiar.
Steven, have you read Ludwig von Mises' Human Actions, particularly the epistemology of praxeology?
I can't say I have.
Well, that's when you get into college level. That's the kind of stuff you face with Austrian economics. But on the way, have you read, and if you haven't, I suggest you read The Adventures of Jonathan Gullible, that Ken Schoolan, and watch the movie as well. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but it's a terrific introduction to free market economics.
Okay.
I want to add that, Steven, 2 years ago you were at a big libertarian conference, right? That
Freedom Fest?
Professor Skousen is organizing Freedom Fest.
Yeah.
Any thoughts about Freedom Fest? Did it play any important role in your transformation into young libertarian?
I would say Freedom Fest 2024 was very crucial for that. I got to meet with numerous presidential candidates at the time. Not RFK, but like Chase Oliver, Cornel West. I also went to the Palm Springs Freedom Fest, and I would say Freedom Fest is it's a pretty nice organization. I'd say it's a definitely more like Americanized orientation of, not orientation, but it's a more Americanized kind of event akin to Liberty International, but it's more of a trade show than like Liberty International. But that being said, it's still I still really enjoy it, and I'm hoping I can go to the Vegas one.
I'd like to ask if you don't mind going from the very thick book of Insomnia, Cures of Human Action to the other very big books of Harry Potter. Does your generation vibe to that, or is J.K. Rowling too old? Is that your parents' generation? And the LGBTQ thing, did that blow that up? And very specifically, sorry, I ask because those were kids who didn't let their schooling interfere with their education. They even overthrow the system, hop on their broomsticks, and teach themselves what they need to know. And to me, that was a powerful libertarian lesson, and I'm wondering if anybody in your generation gets that, thinks about that, processes that?
I don't think, like now I hear a lot less about Harry Potter than I used to, I think. And I can't list a book series that's quite as popular in my generation than Harry Potter, but then again, I mean, I don't know too much about it. Harry Potter, I wouldn't say it's not that popular in my generation now, but I can't speak for everyone.
Does anybody get any of the vibe that I'm talking about? You and anybody talk about that at all? Or is it...
I'm not sure. I really haven't spoken to anyone about Harry Potter. I know a lot of people my age really don't like J.K. Rowling.
Stephen, besides The Adventure of Jonathan Gullible, it's a must-read for you. I recommend another book by Doug Casey. It just came out 2 days ago. It's called The Preparation. Subtitle, How to Be Competent, Confident, and Dangerous. It's for people who are thinking about going to college but not, and learn as much, if it's not more, in real life. But it's a guide, step by step. It's co-authored, right, Doug Casey and Matthew Smith. Go check it out.
Okay.
And with that question, there's one more. We can have one more.
A good one.
Just one.
A good one. All
Short.
right. That's all right. I have been for a number of years intrigued by the unschooling movement. And by the way, when I went to Freedom Fest in 2013, my partner that I went with wanted to leave and not see the Salisbury Valley lecture, and I would not go until we did that. It was the last lecture session. But you are off on a tangent that I don't think your high school can help much for you. Have you considered just totally going self-study, self-learning, or would you feel like you were losing a social environment that you would not like?
Are you suggesting homeschooling?
Well, actually, the Salisbury School is not a homeschooling, but homeschooling is what most people think. But unschooling is, the Salisbury School is where the students go to one building and totally direct themselves. And if they don't want to study and want to play basketball every day, they do it. But when they get a subject they want to learn, they learn it as far as they want. And the people who did it said, well, you know, we got students who really went a long way on subjects that would go years beyond what conventional teachers would think they were supposed to be capable of.
I have heard of alternate education like that, and it does, I will be honest, it really does sound like it's pretty beneficial for the people who do it. But right now, believe it or not, I think I'm pretty comfortable with how I'm being schooled. I have a lot of friends where I am, and being in an environment where there's so many different opinions, I feel like well, I go to a public school, and I believe that since my parents pay taxes, they're paying for said school, along with roads, fire departments.
Thank you so much, Steven. I think you inspire many of us. Great. We are keeping our fingers crossed for you, and we want to see you at the future Liberty International World Conferences. You are part of the family. Thank you, Steven.
Yeah. Pleasure's all mine.